Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. I'm always grateful. Let me remind you of the article I wrote over the weekend, I think which still applies, how 2016 started with a bang. And then I came across this article, which I thought was particularly apt. I do not believe any of it, and would instead say we're simply receiving a global margin call. Now the margin call comes. Now comes the great unwind. Collateral of all sorts will be questioned. The questions will be of the strength, the liquidity, ownership, and even whether the collateral even exists. Everything will be questioned and nothing taken for granted or even at face value. The issue of trust and even who can you trust will come forward. Institutions who've traded with each other for decades will suddenly be looking at each other with different eyes. Questions like, will I get paid or will I receive what I paid for, will be an everyday exercise. And that took me back to a fantastic film with Jeremy Irons called Margin Call. Have a look at clip number 3, that link is on Rich Wrap-Ups. He really is a tremendous actor. Home Thoughts. This is an article by Hunter S. Thompson's son in The Guardian, and speaks to quite a complex relationship with his father, as I suspect he would have with the dad who was as Hunter S. Thompson was. Thompson's subsequent memorial, when his ashes were fired into the sky by a cannon. The contraption cost thousands of dollars, with Johnny Depp paid for, and was followed appropriately with a long and raucous party. Hunter S. Thompson, one of my favorite quotes, is about the H. There is no honest way to explain it, because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over, he says. Political reflections. President Obama made his final State of the Union address, said many things, dismissed the idea of ISIL as an existential threat to the United States. He's completely correct. I'm a great admirer of POTUS. I disagree with him in terms of the drone program, which he turned into an assassination program on steroids, and with the price of his regime change program in Libya and Syria. He has proven an extraordinarily sharp oil warfare specialist and has advanced the US national interest by leaps and bounds. The economy is the comeback kid. There's still some challenges, but you've got to say he's the only one who's raising interest rates, if you think about it. And I do think he has shown leadership continuously and on key issues such as gun control, the fear of terror, as evidenced in this last address. He says the media is oversaturated with coverage of terrorism. I think he's right. And this takes me back to that Paul Virilio book I enjoyed so much, The Administration of Fear. Have a look at the TwitPic and read it and see what Virilio is talking about. He said, I can promise that a year from now, when I no longer hold this office, I'll be right there with you as a citizen. In the New York Times, this was my favorite, that's what makes me so hopeful about our future. Because of you, I believe in you. Jose Ramon Cabanas tweeted Cuba's ambassador invited for the first time to the State of the Union address. Dan Frumkin tweeted top military spending nations via The Intercept. You will see that the US is far, far ahead of everybody else. But the point to note is that some people are spending money effectively. North Korea hardly spends anything for its nuclear deterrent. And I think, a lot of people will be looking at Russia, given this Sonnet Lumiere show we've seen recently. The Fars news agency in Iran reports that boats illegally entered US boats' Iranian waters and the US sailors were arrested. Members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards confiscated GPS equipment and accused the servicemen of snooping. White House officials said that they are aware of the situation and are working to return the sailors home safely. I think neither side is in an adversarial frame of mind. And I'll put up a photograph of a riverine command boat. This is Riverine Detachment 23, shown with the amphibious transport dockship USS New York. There was a terrorist attack in Sultan Ahmed Square, and I'll put up a photograph of a beautiful sunset in that same square in Istanbul. We stayed in that very square when we visited Istanbul. Currency markets, the euro is at 108.21, dollar index 99.13, Japanese yen 118.30, Swissy 10048, the pound 144.57, the Aussie is at 0.7033, India rupee 66.775, South Korean 112.0348, the Rial 402.77, Egyptian pound 783, and the rand 1652.64 when I checked it last. I'll put up a one-year chart of the dollar index, and I think that's going to 110. Sterling has had quite a steep drop, and this is all around Brexit. Have a look at this one-year chart, and I think it's targeting the 136 area. In point of fact, Canada dollar last trading at 142.04. We're going to 155. The overnight Hong Kong interbank offered rate HIBOR for the offshore yuan jumped 53%. This was yesterday, as the Chinese authorities tightened liquidity in Hong Kong. And now it's dropped back down to 8.31%. And the FT very cleverly said, point made, don't fight the PBOC. And I think it's the currency that's infected the global markets more than anything else. Holger, another chart of doom. Bloomberg Commodity Index drops to lifetime low. And I spoke about this in November 2014 when I said the commodity supercycle is dead in the water. And that this was a major turning point and represents a major shift away from commodity producing countries towards global consumers and consumer countries, and that shift has accelerated even further. Gold, and we put up a 5-day chart, we're now trading at 1082.35 as some of the geopolitical premium gets taken out of the price. WTI tumbled to the lowest level since December 2003. For February delivery fell $1.28 or 4.1% to $30.13. Contract touched $29.93, lowest intraday price since December 2003. Brent for February settlement fell 3.3% to $30.50, touched $30.34, the least since April 2004. And I've spoke about this and written about this severally, but I must say I wish I'd made some more money, given my conviction. Saudi debt risk on par with junk-rated Portugal as oil slides. Saudi Arabia's finances are under pressure as it fights a war in Yemen at a time when crude prices are languishing at the lowest level in almost 12 years. The country, which counts on energy exports for 70% of government revenue, sold bonds for the first time since 2007, last year, to help fund a budget deficit that may have been the widest since 1991. Net foreign assets dropped for 10 straight months through November, the longest streak since at least 2006, to $627 billion. They have huge reserves and extremely low debt, but the question is, how long are oil prices going to stay at this level? The bonds of state-controlled Saudi electricity company used as a proxy for the government in the absence of any international sovereign debt have tumbled as oil has retreated as well. The yield on the company's $1.5 billion securities due April 2024 has surged 49 basis points since the start of the year to a record 4.6% on Monday. That's a clear indication. The UN here in Africa is ready to back update of Congo voter register. The UN offered to help the DRC update its electoral list as the country's opposition threatens protests over the government's failure to publish a revised election calendar and begin voter registration. The partners are ready to support the revision of the voter register. Said the head of the mission, it is a prerequisite, a technical exercise that must come first. Time should not be wasted politicizing it. We must find a solution quite quickly. About 7 million new voters between the ages of 18 and 22 need to be registered. And essentially, that seems to me the UN is triangulating President Kabila because he has been using that as a little bit of an excuse to try and hurdle the deadline of the constitution. Torture rife in Burundi, opposition claims they beat us as if we are snakes. A woman does not want to be named remembers, some of us were beaten more severely than others. It depended on which police officers caught you and perhaps what they accused you of. The accusations against the government, the army and Burundi's police are severe and precise, indeed some of the excuses have been pretty extraordinary, that the opposition was killing themselves in order to bring the government into disrepute. African sunshine can now be bought and sold on the bond market. Very interesting securitization. Africa's off-grid solar industry has been turned into an asset class for the first time, bundling contracts with thousands of the sun-powered rooftop electricity systems to sell as bonds. Oko Credit and Persistent Energy Capital LLC, working in Kenya and Rwanda with plans to expand to Pakistan and Nigeria. First issue bundled 2,500 active contracts for solar energy into rural Kenya, raising $500,000. Notes have an interest rate of 21% and an average maturity of 2.5 years, and I think that looks like a super investment. South African all share is down 4.53% this year. Dollar rand, I'm still very bearish about it, but it snapped a 7-session losing streak to gain 0.8% yesterday. It has, however, retreated 7% year to date, and that's the biggest retreat among 31 emerging market major currencies tracked by Bloomberg. Volatility in the rand surged towards the highest level in 4 years. The difference between prices at which traders are willing to buy and sell the rand, used as a gauge of liquidity, was about 1.5 times wider on average than in the past 6 months. And I concluded by saying, as long as the South African President Zuma is in the cockpit, the discount applied to the rand will remain egregious. Egyptian pound at 783, Egyptian EGX30 down 7.74% so far this year. Nigerian all share down 9.1% so far this year as investors begin to fret about the Naira devaluation. Ghana Stock Exchange up 0.7%, so bucking the trend. South Sudan's annual inflation rate surged to, wait for it, 109.9% in December. Inflation accelerated from 73.6% in November, spinning out of control, and then no income because oil prices are so low. The EIB considers funding a 70 megawatt unit for Kenyan geothermal. EIB is considering to finance an extension to a geothermal plant in southwestern Kenya, lending 72 million euros. Extension would raise its capacity from 140 megawatts to 210 megawatts. Imperial Bank, which has been in kind of a limbo for quite a while now, as everyone awaits a forensic report. This article is talking about a response from the shareholders, of whom the chairman is Al-Nashir Poppet, second left. And this is a photograph of him with other directors during the bank's first press briefing since its closure 4 months ago. Kenya shilling 102.40 area steady. Nairobi all share down 1.91% year to date, and compare that against what's happening in other parts of sub-Saharan Africa, and you'll have to agree it's a pretty robust performance. NSE 20 down 3.23%. If you ever want to track the stock market in real time, please just log on to rich.co.ke, register, it's free, get a password, and then you go to a place called Rich Live, and you can track the market in real time from that. Once again, thank you for stopping by.